would like to review with you the passenger railways networks all over the world. In 20th century, the train was the primary way to travel for both short and long distances in both Europe, America, Asia, everywhere. How it looking right now? Some countries dismantled their vast railway networks. Some of them still use the network for the cargo traffic, but not for the passengers. And in some countries, you are still able to travel everywhere you want, just with using train. Let's do the world review. I am using the Traffic Geo map to have everything in the single place. Let's start from the Canada. Here we can see the entire railway network for the traffic. There's a lot of the traffic in the Canada going by rail. If we switch to the passenger traffic, we still can travel from the east coast to the west coast. There are some big cities like Calgary that are not serviced by the trains anymore. So the network exists, but it is not as good as it can be. Let's move south. Here you can see United States. There is a vast number of the railway tracks built in the 19th and 20th century. Probably most of the cities in US we are able to travel by train. So right now, let's switch to the passenger network. Not so good. You can see there's a very big cities like Las Vegas, uh, where it's not serviced by any passenger railways today. Still, there's an entire state of South Dakota that you are not able to go by train or Wyoming. However, the network is going from coast to coast, and it is possible to traverse United States just by using the Amtrak trains. Let's move south to the Mexico. In Mexico, you can see there is the pretty good railway network going from north to south. It is still used by the cargo traffic. There was the book written in 70s about the adventure traveler that went from the United States to South America going by train. So he just crossed near San Antonio and went to the border with Guatemala. Is it possible right now? No, it is not possible anymore. The Mexico is right now the desert for the passenger railways. Oh, you can see here some interesting place, the island of Cuba. Then there is no difference between the passenger railway network and the rail tracks because the trains are still going everywhere. There were no trains in Central America except the Panama and very limited services in Costa Rica. The same with the Colombia, Venezuela. In Ecuador, they recently refurbished their tracks and there is the touristic train running. In Peru, most of the network is possible to traverse by the passenger trains. However, the trains are mostly touristic. They are very expensive. Only on some roads there are some less expensive uh, general trains. Let's go to Bolivia. In Bolivia, there is still a lot of the passenger services. Unfortunately, the second capital of the country, La Paz, is not serviced by train, but there is still a lot of the places when you can go travel by train, especially if you compare this to the adjacent country. The sad thing is that 50 years ago or 40 years ago, it was possible to cross from Bolivia to the neighboring country like Chile or Argentina. It is not possible anymore because the tracks are either dismantled or not in service and there is no passenger services there. Let's move uh, east to Brazil. In Brazil, you can see a lot of the railway tracks, and especially between the biggest cities, Rio de São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro. You can go. The railway tracks are going to the Brasilia, the capital. Do you think it is possible to travel somewhere by train, by passenger train? There's a lot of the people living in these cities near the coast. Unfortunately, in early 90s, almost entire passenger network was dismantled. It is not possible to anymore. There are some very limited train service in some places, but this is not any network. This is just two or three trains. Right now we can go to south to Argentina. That we can see in Chile and Argentina. Argentina is I really like this country because it is some kind of the exception compared to the other South American countries. Of course, if we see the passenger network, it is not going everywhere. However, it is a network, so you can travel from Buenos Aires to Tucumán more than 1,000 kilometers or to Cordoba. You can go to the winter resort of Bariloche. However, there is some gap that you need to cover by train. The Argentina is an exception if you compare this with the other South American countries. In Chile, the passenger railway network is really limited. For comparison, let's take a look on Europe. Here we see the Europe. This is all the rail tracks available. Let's switch to the passenger trains. Almost no difference.